At the 2023 Positive Approach to Care Conference with Teepa Snow, I had the opportunity to interview Nikki Jardin and Tavé Fascé, founders of Mirador Magazine. Today, we explore how a simple act like reading a magazine can become a cherished lifeline. A few years ago, Nikki's life took a turn when her aunt was diagnosed with younger-onset Alzheimer's at 63. Stepping in as her primary guardian, Nikki navigated the complexities of care with love and dedication. Nikki's going to share with us her story. You'll be able to have a glimpse into what that was like for her and the journey that she embarked on to create what is now called Mirador Magazine. Alongside Tavé Fascé, co-founder and graphic designer with an eye for inclusive design, they crafted a magazine that is easy to read and enjoy, designed specifically for individuals with changing brain conditions. Mirador is named as a tribute to Nikki's late Aunt Sharon, a Spanish speaker and explorer of the family's heritage, symbolizes a lookout or vantage point. It's a fitting metaphor for a magazine that offers a window to the world for those whose cognitive abilities are changing. As we discuss Mirador's journey, its impact, and its future, we invite you to join us for this heartwarming conversation. And a shout out to Carrie Albers, the dementia darling, for recommending that we meet these incredible women. This episode is powered by Seni, which provides support and products for those caring for loved ones. Here is my interview with Mirador Magazine. Hello, ladies. I have made some new friends, which I'm so excited about. We are live from the Positive Approach to Care Conference, Teepa Snow Conference. Welcome. How are you? Thank you for being here.
Thanks so much for having us.
Oh my gosh, we are so thrilled to meet you, Nicole Will.
Yes.
I'm Tavé Fascé Drake, or Otavia Fascé, and this is my co-founder and dear friend,
Nikki Jardin, Mirador Magazine.
And we produce Mirador Magazine, which is an online and print publication formatted for people with non-neurotypical brains, specifically targeted and to be of service to people who have brain change from dementia, traumatic brain injury, and other forms of different brains. Really, all of us.
Yes, really, it really is. And your publication is beautiful. We're going to get more into the details of that. But when I walked into the conference, I had a good friend of ours. We have a mutual friend, and Carrie Albers, dementia darling, who said, "You have to meet these women." They're amazing, and she, brought me over to say hello, which I love that. One of the things that I think draws us all here is our passion around the dementia care community. And not only that, we have a personal story. So I know each of you are brought to this by your personal story, and tell us more about that. How did that come to be in your mission and your work, and how is that impactful for you?
So Mirador came about because I had an aunt who was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's when she was 62, and I became her primary familial caregiver, and I was noticing pretty early on that she was not able to access the kinds of reading that she liked to do. Her National Geographic, her Oprah magazines, newspapers were no longer accessible for her, so she just stopped reading. And I know how much reading meant to her, and so I went online to look for dementia-friendly reading materials, and to my shock and surprise found hardly anything at all.
Crazy.
There were a couple of chapter books available, there were some printables, but nothing that was a periodical. And so I have a background in freelance writing, and I had worked on a couple of local magazines, and so it was a natural fit to create a periodical style magazine that was just formatted in a way that was easier to read for somebody experiencing dementia. So, that was back in 2017, and, kind of thinking about it for a while. Brought my friend Tave in here. We are in a band together, and so Tave's done a lot of our graphics, and so I really needed the graphic design to look great. I'm a writer, but I'm not a graphics person, and there was a way that we needed this magazine to be formatted in a way that was accessible for people with changing brains. And so that's basically the origin story. I didn't want a magazine that was about dementia. It didn't need to be a wellness magazine. It was just basically a leisure-oriented magazine with art, games, nature, all kinds of interesting facts that was just fun to read, and so somebody can just enjoy it autonomously and keep reading alive for as long as possible, because I feel like reading is a super self-comforting thing to do, and it's also really important for our cognitive health, and so maintaining that link was super important.
Absolutely.
That's the basic story.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that you made it applicable for all people in the sense that it looks beautiful, and when you see it out and when you open it up, you don't necessarily rightly go to identifying it for, oh, this is made for someone with brain change, right? And I think that there's something about the dignity in that, of having it be present, and we can interact with it and with our loved one, and it's applicable to them. So I appreciated that. As I was paging through it, I thought it was beautifully done.
Oh, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And that is a testament to Tave and our graphic designer Ty Juncker, who really make this periodical absolutely beautiful with each issue. They work so hard. Tave can talk for a minute here about how we designed this and why. I love that you say that there is a dignity in it, because that was the first and foremost thing for us. Is we wanted it to be something that people could walk around with and feel good about holding and enjoying.
Yeah, and that is the struggle, I think, when you were saying that there wasn't much out there that you noticed. That's so true. And at times we had gravitate towards, I know when I worked in a community, our only option was purchasing something that was really made for children. And that really stripped away the dignity of these adults that have lived really full, amazing lives. And we need better options. So this is one. So thank you.
And are still curious.
Right, absolutely. And the research is coming out where even living with mild cognitive impairment, we can maintain our brain health and continue that growth, and that it's important to do that and not just throw up our hands and go, oh, okay, now there we go.
That's over.
Yeah, right.
That was a part of my life that no longer exists.
But just how important it is to keep being able to do that, to maintain what we have and to maintain that. So that's so important. Okay, Tave, I want to hear your story.
I love hearing you talk, Nick, though. Each time I'm like, wow. And then I just feel really fortunate to be working with you and to be doing the work that we are doing. And Nicole, I want to thank you as well, because the fact that we're all here at this conference meeting one another, we're being able to get together, all of us that have this passion and this drive to continue moving lives forward in a really positive way. And thanks for reaching out.
Yeah.
So Nikki and I we are in a few bands together, and so we play music, we travel, we do many things together. One of our bands is called The Adventures of Chicken and Dumpling. it's
so good.
It's a two-person with special guests. Mostly original music that sounds like from different eras, 30s, 40s, 60s, 70s, and played on primarily unusual instruments. And
okay, like what? I'm curious.
Oh my God, I cannot even believe she's bringing this up. I love it so much.
Oh, this is the good stuff.
Yeah.
A shrooty box.
Shrooty box. There's some standard things like the ukulele, but there's also what is that thing?
The stump fiddle.
Stump fiddle.
I've never heard of the stump fiddle.
We'll have to do a whole thing on the stump fiddle for you. Stump fiddle. Banjolele, and it's actually a little tin banjolele.
A child's piano.
The Schoenhut little piano, little wooden piano. Let's see, different shakers and instruments from different parts of the world, because we've lived abroad in different places at different times of our lives. Shakers, clackers, etc. What is the thing? Strumstick?
Oh, the strumstick.
Yeah, the strumstick. Oh, a saxophone kazoo from the 1940s.
Very important.
That is it's a tin type from Japan.
That's incredible.
I mean, and the list goes on.
Oh my gosh.
Really, it's anything you want to play. It could be a magazine. It'd be like,
yeah.
you know.
It's like, where you've got those, have you seen, those movie where the sound effects
Yes.
that they're
Yes.
creating in the
Yes.
background? Right.
It is kind of like
just
that.
be so creative.
Definitely Chicken and Dumpling is like odd soundtrack, Foley artists. I don't even know what to say about Chicken and Dumpling, but anyway.
Here's what I have to say about them. They have really great adventures.
They really do.
Just for fun, when Nikki and I travel around, just as pals, if we're going to visit, say, one of my daughters at college and we're on a road trip, or we're touring with our bigger band, we have a large band called Girl Haggard, spelled like Merle, but with a G. It's an all-women Merle Haggard tribute. Or if we're just out around as Adventures of Chicken and Dumplinging, we make up in our heads these stories about what's going on. And it's an audio comic strip that we just tell each other over and over and laugh till we really can't even talk anymore. So this is all just background to who we are as people. And we love to take photos of ourselves in odd, precarious situations and doing God only knows what, wearing formal clothes in riverbeds and tromping through blackberry bushes looking for wild
Doing
things.
scenarios in front of country store museums.
Exactly.
I'm not sure how we got onto this.
So in
tangent,
any
but
event, this is all the background of us. So when Nikki asked me, she said, look, I have this idea for this magazine and I would love you to art direct it. And because I'm really not a graphic designer, so I have an eye, but I'm not the person that can sit behind the computer and make that happen. I'm very capable at saying, oh, that yellow needs like a little more brown and a little more brown, and it stopped right there. Or this should be like a smidge over to the left, up a little bit, and stop. Okay.
Yeah.
So thanks to Ty Juncker, our graphic designer, but I said, yes, I would love to do something like that. And it was like from my mouth to the universe's ear. Right before that, I was at it was like a conference thing for parents or family members of college students. And one of the things was on what these different artist parents did. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I would love to art direct a magazine. And then here comes this offer from Nikki. So I said, yeah, of course. Well, yes.
Oh my goodness.
I was like, yes.
It was like
don't act that excited.
You manifested
Yes.
this for yourself.
Thank you for saying that.
So good.
So I said yes, and then we kept talking about it, and I'm like, tell me more. And my background is, my mother has multiple sclerosis, and it's a relapsing remitting style of multiple sclerosis that she's had for over 20 years. And so she has her own brain change that is involved in that. And the Multiple Sclerosis Society does not like to call it dementia, but it is a cognitive impairment, if you will. It is a change in brain. It is, call it whatever you want. If it's two wheels and it rolls, is it a bicycle? I don't know. Call it whatever you want to call it. But so we have that going on in our own family. And so this was an important thing for me in general. I have two daughters as well who are now young adults. And I just feel like, these are treasures for us. Young people in our lives are treasures to us. And that's very clear in the United States. We treat our young people really well. But our old people, I mean, they're infinite. They're like compounded treasures, right? And we don't do this so much in the United States, and we really should and could. It's easy to do. And I grew up in a multi-generational family. So for me, this was a very obvious thing. And so another piece that I wanted to bring to this, aside from being, if your brain works a little bit differently and you want something calming to look at, you don't want advertising. You want something entertaining. You want to laugh. Like we all want to laugh. Yeah. So you want funny things. You want articles on art and articles on music and things on tech and things on sports, and animals are fun, and birds. Everybody's interested in a bird for some reason. So putting all this stuff in there, it was just like, oh, we can do this, and we can put a comic in, and we can put a recipe in, and we can do these things that Nikki and I have backgrounds in, and put it in there like it's a variety show, if you will, within the pages, and use it in addition to being something for someone to make connection within themselves. Right. As a way for them to make connection with other people, and to help make this cross-generational conversation or cross-generational community and aid to that, so you can have an easy way of spending time together for people who don't do it. So there's prompts to think about or to talk about. There's games you could do together. There are articles you could read. All of this was just an extra reason for me to get really involved and push that, so that we can start giving our middle-aged and older people some real respect, the respect they deserve. They brought us all up, and it's something I'm just absolutely impassioned about. So that's how I got involved. And spoiler alert, there's always a comic in every volume entitled The Adventures of Chicken and Dumpling.
Amazing.
And it's our photos of us gallivanting around doing God only knows what. And most of them were already shot before we started the thing, because they're just there.
And
so that's one piece of it.
I want to
love
just
how
add
you
in
capture the humor.
the fun fact of this. We did a ton of research on the first issue. It took us about 18 months to put that first issue together.
Incredible,
We
yeah.
took it into residential care. We brought it into people that are, that have been working with people experiencing dementia and other brain change, and had them look through each page and go, this is really good. Maybe try this, try this, try this. And so we took all that very to heart. The Adventures of Chicken and Dumpling comic, and I apologize for continuing to talk about this, except that it happens to be. Now, originally it was going to be, I think I threw in some pictures of my cats or something for the first one, and then it became, somebody said, no, use, I think we laid out the first one, and Judy Laura, who actually was a contributor for the first issue, said, no, use faces, and make sure the faces are smiling, because people don't see that enough, and it's really important. It can immediately change somebody's mood. So you have to keep that in there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, really? Oh no. But it turns out that The Adventures of Chicken and Dumpling is the thing that for the most part gets read first in the magazine. People absolutely love it, and I'm always just like, oh, are you absolutely kidding me? But it is now the most fun thing. We put together all the puzzles, the word search, the object find. We do spot the difference. We do all that ourselves. We take those pictures ourselves. And the photo shoot for The Adventures of Chicken and Dumpling, we also do ourselves. And it is actually, we will laugh so hard putting these things together that, and I like to think that it comes through on the page, and that people really enjoy it.
It's fun to think about. It's fun to even think about now, us sitting in front of it and being like, what if we put them in this order? Oh my gosh. No, what if we do this? Oh no, that's really funny. We had another friend that said, I love The Adventures of Chicken and Dumpling, but I really don't understand it.
That is too good.
Anyway, so the other background piece, we'll get into like the science of it, is so Nikki had this idea, she asked me on board, I said yes, and then, I started putting my own piece into it as well, and then let's talk and grow this, and we started broadening, like narrowing but broadening at the same time, maybe like an hourglass. I don't know how that shape looks geometry-wise, but the idea that we wanted to be able to serve this niche community, but we also wanted it to be enjoyable for everybody in their communities. So friends, families, care facilities, etc. It's akin to when, if you're a parent and you have a young child, excuse me, and they want to listen to some absolutely horrendous music, and you're like,
oh my gosh, that's so true.
Dear heavens,
Please.
Sometimes, but oh gosh, right. And you're just thinking, I can't do another day of it. And I thought, no, we want this to be, and then when you find some great music that is great for the kids and it's great for the adults in their lives, you're just like, yes, let's put another CD, and yes, let's pop another MP3 in the queue. Let's do this. And it's so fun, and everybody's excited. Gosh, even if you play along with it. And I wanted to make the magazine feel like that too. And so taking this piece that Nikki's talking about, having dignity, you could walk around with this under your arm, and someone would say, oh, that looks interesting. Or it's somebody from the outside world, and they think, oh, that looks arty, instead of, there they are walking around with a plastic child's board book.
100%.
You know,
yes.
oh, it's a bathtub book. Oh, it's it's an early reader's thing. No, and this is an entirely different thing. And people in their lives even aren't going to be enjoying and relating to that. So to make something that looks tasteful, that you can hold in your hand, and it's like heavy and just tactilely nice, and that has content that is enjoyable by everybody in the community, family, friends, somebody younger, somebody older, those of us in the sandwich generation that have kids and parents. And so that's our other goal. And we, so with doing all of that, we then started doing a ton of research for our niche community. What were the colors that work? What are the color temperatures that work? How does the font have to be? What can it not be? The sizing, the layout of the page, articles that are in chunks so that you can just read this square or this square or this square, and it doesn't matter what order or if you read them all. Nothing carries over to a, flip to page 32. No, there's none of that. We have no advertising. There are the use of more photos than illustrations. We do have original illustrations as well, but again, to give people who are, many of whom maybe are indoors because they can't be out or have limited mobility and don't have access to community members or family members that can get them out, to put a great deal of nature in as far as photos and content. And so we did all of this research. And like Nikki was saying, we additionally went into individual homes. We gave out different samples. We solicited feedback. We were in trials with universities. And so all of this is very, very thoughtfully and passionately laid out to be accessible, enjoyable, calming, but entertaining. Something that you can do on your own as an introvert, something you can do with others as an extrovert, and something that just will keep your mind working and keep your body feeling these things, because even as we grow and change, we're still a person. We're still a mollusk in our little shell.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I love the intentionality behind it, and I love the inclusion of, in your research and collecting the data, working with the older adults, people living with dementia, the communities, the families. That really speaks to the breadth of research that went into that. So
Thank you.
That is
we should
very
tell some
important.
testimonial pieces, so
Yeah.
we're not just, don't take our word for it.
I was just gonna say we have been so we have 10 issues out now, and so we've been publishing for about 3 years, and we have a wonderful community of readers, many of whom will write to us and tell us how they've used Mirador in their family with their loved ones or in their communities, and it's been really wonderful to hear. We have a gentleman that writes us with each issue and say that so his wife lives in long-term care, and he goes and visits her every day, and he loves to take the magazine and they read together. He likes the stories because they're short enough for her to follow along, and he reads slowly and they can talk about them, and it's a really nice way for them to connect. We have readers who who've been with us since the beginning, and their brains have changed. So when they were able to maybe access and read the articles themselves, now their spouse or sister or whoever or grandchild reads to them, does the puzzles with them together. It's something they can grow with, because there's a little something for every stage in this particular magazine. We have a dear friend who we actually played music with, whose husband suddenly went through, was diagnosed with a brain tumor. It was very sudden, and they'd been subscribers just as supporters for a long time. And after his brain surgery, they wrote us and said, "Oh my gosh, this magazine has been so helpful for Greg's recovery because he can utilize it we can see now."
What a testament.
How intentionally this was put together, because he's able to do the puzzles, and it's helping him kind of reconnect pen to paper and his sight. And that was super special
Like
to us.
they're essentially what the physical therapists were encouraging him to do was use the different components of our magazine. So to continue to challenge your brain, but have it be failure free.
Right.
And to continue to grow your brain's capacity for him. And that was amazing. And then my dear friend Daniel Flessis, who I just always have to thank, his mom Bonnie, who has since passed, but she was living, they were both living together down in Palm Desert. It was during the pandemic time. And so she had been in a care facility. And he said, no, this isn't going to work for now. So they went down and moved into what had been their snowbird home. And I had the opportunity of, being tested and quarantined and everybody safe and getting together and being able to spend a great deal of time with Yvonne or Bonnie. And like we gave her this magazine and she's looking through it and then she starts reading it. Daniel said, I didn't even know she still knew how to read. And he is like a professional care partner, period, and has provided tons of different resources for her. But obviously it wasn't the right font, or it wasn't large enough, it wasn't what we are doing. And she started reading and she was so tickled. And we realized she didn't know that she still knew how to read.
Incredible.
And then she wanted to we always have an illustration that can be colored in any way you like. And she was so thrilled. And I said, well, we could photocopy or you can download. And she could do it over and over again, different days, different things. Who knows what she'll have. And she was so just smiling like a little girl at Christmas. And she looked at me and she said, this is so nice. Did you get one too?
Oh.
I know. So, these are the reasons. Those are the personal stories. The fact that people call and say, after a busy day, I have ADHD. After a busy day, I love to sit and read just a little bit or flip through stuff just a little bit as a way to center myself.
Right.
Your magazine is great. Or we have people on the autism spectrum in our classroom or our community, and this has been a wonderful resource for them because it encourages all of these different things without frustration and without overstimulation, while still being energy bringing, if you will.
Yes.
So that's what we can say.
Well, and one of the things I always hear from families too is they want to know how to connect with their loved one, but they don't always have the mechanism to do that, or they don't maybe know what to say. Or with the grandchildren, you go visit, and having these tools that we can use to bridge that bond and that time together, and we can spend time together in a way and have a focus and have the way that we can meaningfully interact with each other is just another meaningful piece of that. Absolutely. Yeah.
And reading is such a nice tool because we're so familiar with it. We read to one another, as young children. Young children will read to each other.
Well, since the beginning of time,
right? Exactly.
When we
It's storytelling,
storytelling.
And so it's just sort of it's a nice, gentle, analog thing to do.
Yeah.
Just some, and it doesn't have to be for hours at a time.
Right.
15 minutes, 20 minutes is sometimes enough to kind of have that moment.
Yeah.
And then try something else.
Absolutely.
Exactly. When we were young, we were all artists, we were all musicians, we all were telling stories or reading stories, and that there's no reason for that to not continue. And as we, progress into later, people in our lives progress into different stages of their lives, these are things that are core, these are root to them.
Right.
And then so within our magazine as well, we have the prompts, so it might be recall a time that, so you're accessing not your recent memory, but your long-term, and you will not believe the stuff that comes out. Stories that people had never told before. Somebody was first chair violinist when they were younger and you never knew that. And then, you hear these things. In addition, I guess we should mention, we have an online component as well. So the magazine can be purchased as a physical copy, or it can be purchased as a digital copy. With the physical, you get the digital as well. But online, we have audio narration for each of the stories or interviews and articles. And we do those ourselves and with other people that we know. And we have downloadable our puzzles and our spot the difference photos and games that we create on our own, those can be downloaded and printed. And we also have bonus material, bonus downloads that Nikki puts together. Sometimes the peace, love, and soup part of the recipe that we'll have, and then did you know facts, like fun facts about something. We'll often have like an extra, extra recipe or a longer piece on that, and those will go online. Sometimes the interviews we do, because we do a fair amount of the writing, but we also have contributors as well. And so sometimes we'll have longer versions online, and then the shorter 200 to 250 words pieces within the magazine.
I love the variety.
And I do want to shout out, because we are at the Teepa Snow PAC conference.
Thank you. We love her so much. Thanks for your support, Teepa.
We have had a longtime contributor, part of Teepa's core team, Judy Stock, who has dementia and was a freelance writer for a very long time. She's, I think, in her 80s now, and has been a contributor of ours, writes beautifully for 5 or 6 issues now. And
2 years.
Yeah.
I think
What a great
7
addition.
issues.
What a great addition.
And so, we love to have her with us. So,
Yeah.
we have a variety of contributors. We write a lot of this ourselves, and it's just a lot of fun to put together.
Oh, it's so good. Well, your energy shines through it all. And where can we find your product? Where can we learn more? Tell us.
So, miradormagazine.com is our website. You can purchase singles. You can purchase sets online there. You can reach out to us at miradormag@gmail.com. There's a phone number too, 503-644-2117. If you email or call, you're going to get me. Because this is a grassroots publication. It's basically, it's really Tave and me.
Women empowering women. Let's go.
And we absolutely love talking to readers. We'll answer questions. People ask us a lot of questions, like the one I get primarily is there a lot of reference to dementia in the magazine? Because that's a concern for people.
Right.
There is not. We are just a magazine that is leisure-oriented. We mention who this magazine is for one time. It's in the very first issue on the letter to the reader's page. The rest of the time, we don't talk about it. And not because there's anything to be shameful or stigmatized about it, but it's a concern for some of our readers.
Yeah, I could see that. Well, before we
I want to add, so Mirador, it's spelled Mirador, Mirador. So miradormagazine.com or Mirador Mag, MIRADORMAG @gmail.com is how you would get us.
Thank you.
And we ship internationally.
Oh, even better.
We do. Because
Well, we have an international audience. We've made the charts in other countries.
So I'm over even in Italy about half of the time these days.
Yes,
And that's been an absolutely beautiful thing to see as well, the way older generations are considered. And so it's easy to do. We know how to do this in the world.
We do.
And we can bring that back to what we have here in the Americas.
Yes.
And I'm really looking forward to the future. And it feels like the last maybe 2 years things are just starting to kind of blossom,
momentum.
right?
Yes.
And
there's momentum.
bringing that respect, dignity, appreciation, fun, the collaborative aspect of what are friends and families in different generations, and bringing that together, and people from all backgrounds with all different types of brains together. And what a fun thing.
Oh, completely.
You make a great soup when you have a few more ingredients.
That's so true.
Right?
I know. And before we end our time, that was one of my questions. Is you and I had a chance to briefly talk about your experience being in Europe and Italy, and just touch on some of those differences that you've witnessed about how the culture and how we embrace our older adults, right? The comparison between the two. I thought your perspective was really valuable about that.
Oh, thank you. So it's multi-generational is just a way of life in Italy. So you have younger people, they're enjoyed and appreciated and treated well in their families. You have older people who are enjoyed and honored and respected and treated well in the families. And there's a great deal of community just within the family. People having family dinners together, sitting down, talking about what they did, teasing one another. It's akin to like a friendship pod in a middle school almost, where everybody's getting along really well. And it's a beautiful thing to behold, and it's an absolutely amazing thing to be a part of. It makes me jump out of my skin with excitement about how happy I am to be able to feel that, and how much I want to be able to bring that to other families outside of Italy and within anywhere in the world that don't feel that. And when we're talking about brain change, because that does not just happen in the United States, it happens everywhere. And so to shine a light on it, with Mirador, Nikki said, I want to call it Mirador. I want this lighthouse, this other point of view to be able to, to shine and look out at things, and to also be able to shine a light on what is this, and to not be scared of it, and to not be ashamed of it, and to embrace that. And so overseas, you have people with brain change, you have people experiencing other health things, and it's just taken into the equation, taken into the situation. And so even when people become less mobile, there's this, here's an example. A cousin of a dear friend of mine, who happens to also be a dear friend of mine, she cared for her husband, and his dementia started to kick in and then progress. And he went from being a morning person and getting up and making breakfast for the family and prepping up stuff and running errands and being social and then coming back to the house and having lunch with the family. It got to where he could not do those things anymore. And she said, oh gosh, I'm not a morning person. I'm going to have to make myself a morning person, because he wants to get up. So this understanding of who you are even with, right? And cueing in, Teepa talks about this. Who are you dealing with? What do they look like? When you observe them, what do you know of them? Do they like cold or warm? Are they morning people or afternoon people? Are they more serious or are they light-hearted? Do they like to dance? And so there's this understanding that people have of one another, and it's used. It's just, and I just love it. So she started getting up early, and then she would get the stuff going. Then she put him in the car, and they'd go for a drive. When he was still very able-bodied, they would go for walks. Then it was drives. Then they would come home and have lunch and rest. We're from the south of Italy, so we have siesta, repose. And then people might come visit in the afternoons. There could be, sometimes there was cards, because cards could still be played. And that happens a lot cross-generationally as well, and outside of different situations. So it's just a beautiful thing. And then when people even become later stage, we're talking pearls on the gem scale of Teepas. Even pearls, they're still respected and valued, and that people will come in, their family members and friends will come into the room where their beds are and say, hi Dad, hi Grandpa, hi Auntie, whatever the case may be. Speak to them. Sometimes there's some knowledge, some recognition, sometimes there's not. It doesn't matter. Food might get blended up in a blender and then fed out of a bottle with the tip cut off, similar to what the family is going to eat, and then everyone's greeted, and then the rest of the family sits at the table.
Wow.
And so these are the things, I guess, that I can tell you right now, that I'm being able to witness and yes,
and share that then with us.
Exactly.
And our perspective, open up our perspective.
And how Mirador can be a piece of that, or anything anybody does can be a piece of that. It's called being curious, being open, being open-hearted, and positive, right? Positive. Thank you. I hope I answered that question.
You sure did. And
I
not
love
too
that
many
we
more.
end
on positivity. So this is perfect. Thank you, ladies. It's been a joy. I'm excited I get to spend another 2 days with you. Or today and tomorrow. So thank you.
Thank you
for joining me.
Thank you to Teepa Snow, the Snow foundation, to
Wonderful.
Amanda Snow for her foundation and getting all of this with
all of
PAC.
us together.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you,
Yeah.
Nicole, Will, and the work you do. We look forward to more. And thanks to everybody listening. You make a difference in the world.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bacione.
Ciao.
Ciao. Ciao, ciao.
Thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed our episode, please subscribe and give us 5 stars. In all honesty, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening to our episode.